Welcome to ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Thank you very much for coming. We're starting 2 minutes early today to make up for the numerous times that we started late. And thank you for being here early. I appreciate it. This organization is called ISKCON. It's acronym ISKCON, stands for the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It is international. Anywhere you go in the world, you will find a standardized method of practicing what's called bhakti yoga. We also call it devotional service. Antarctica, we're working on it. Every continent of the world that you can think of right now, you'll find an address where you can go and have similar accommodations for your spiritual practice. And this all came about from the desire of the great teachers of bhakti who saw fit to spread the practice as far and wide as possible so that people who generally aren't inculcated with spiritual principles could have an opportunity to take up a practice. And that started in India over 500 years ago with the advent of, we say, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is an incarnation of Krishna. Krishna means God. So God comes in many different forms, and one of the ways he appears is in a form of a teacher, to teach the process of devotional service himself, much like if a teacher sometimes would take the hand of a student to show the student how to write letters. And the teacher is actually moving her hand, but the student is then being guided by the teacher's hand to be able to write the letters, and that's how she learns. So in a similar way, Krishna comes as his own devotee. And when he does so, he's called Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we sometimes say Lord Chaitanya or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he taught some very special students of his the science of Krishna consciousness. As we say science because science means that there are a series of experiments you can undergo in order to prove your hypothesis. And there certainly are controlled experiments you can practice, but you have to do it on yourself mostly to get the result. Of course, you can see it in others also. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave teachings to his students, mostly in the manner of speaking to them and they would listen. They were very intelligent, and later on they wrote down everything and presented it in a systemized way, or a systematic way, so that other people could take it up. And then one of the best inventions humans have come up with, the book. It makes it very handy. If you can't remember everything, sometimes there are people who remember everything they hear. There's a name for them, they're called Shrutidar. They hear something and they just remember it. But for people like me, there's books, and books you can refer to again and again. Someone once told me that education doesn't necessarily mean learning everything, but learning where to find everything and being good at that. Being good at not being lazy, but looking into things, going a little deeper and knowing how to do research is helpful. So the students of Lord Chaitanya wrote down the teachings that they heard from him, and they also put it into a system that anyone could follow. We call that bhakti yoga, because yoga really means it's a means to reconnect with our original source, Krishna. When we're not connected, we feel a bit of inconvenience, to say the least. So those teachings were meant for everyone, not just a certain class of people. And this was specifically noted that Chaitanya wanted the teachings to be available all over the world. And his students themselves at that time ventured out to various places in India and sent their subsequent students out to various places in India to approach people who didn't have any orientation towards spirituality. Although there was a general understanding of spirituality, to have a practice at hand that you can take advantage of on a daily basis is important, because we have senses, we have to engage them, and just having theoretical understanding of God or a spiritual practice doesn't necessarily help us until we have something we can do every day to work towards making that connection ourselves and having a divine experience, a connection with the Supreme. And as the line of teachers proceeded, there's been a sense of the importance of making sure that people in various parts of the world would be able to get the teachings of Bhakti Yoga as brought to us by Lord Chaitanya and also his students and subsequent students, coming down to several that are more modern from the 1800s and early 1900s. The teachers named a teacher named Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a specific interest in uniting various philosophical and religious systems from around the world, finding the commonality. He found great commonality in the various teachings of Christianity and Islam and others around the world, and saw that there needed, or would be helpful if there was a way that people could, in a practical way, take those teachings up and feel some unity, especially through having a common understanding. As an example of a common understanding, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught a philosophy called the Chintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, which means that we're simultaneously one and different from God. And you say, what does that mean? Well, a simple example that he gave was that when you see the sun, you'll also notice that it has various parts. So the sun is one, but it also has parts in the shape of sun rays. Sun rays emanate from the sun, they're its energy. But we really don't make a distinction. At the same time, we kind of have to. Because if the sun was in the room, I see a little sun in this room. Thankfully today's a little sunny for a change, right? If the sun itself, the sun globe was in the room, then we'd be a little warmer than we are now. And therefore we have this intuitive understanding of simultaneous oneness and difference. That there is a oneness in the sense that the sun and its energies are one, but they're also different parts at the same time. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that we're like that. We're parts of God. We're not the complete whole, but we're part of the whole. We have the same quality. That is, we're conscious. We have free will. And our source, Krishna, has greater quantity of these qualities, or unlimited quantity, we say, and we have an infinitesimal amount of these qualities because we're infinitesimal. How so? Well, just like the sun. There's photons of light that emanate from the sun. They're luminous. They have the same quality as the sun, but they're not the sun globe. They're part of the sun globe. So it is with us, said Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur saw that these are very practical teachings. They're something that anyone who had a yearning for something more than just working for a fruitive end, that means accumulating as much as you can in the world and trying to maintain the status quo. Oftentimes people become frustrated. I would say oftentimes, almost always, people become frustrated and they look for more. But unless there's a stair-step type of program where you can actually put your foot on a rung and say, well, I'll begin my spiritual practice here, then it remains philosophical. And besides that, there are many religious systems that lack philosophy. And there's an old saying that religion without philosophy is sentimentality, just sentiment. And philosophy without religion is mental speculation. There's no end to it. There's no there. For instance, you can study physics and look at a particle and the same from different angles for 25 years and write several theses on it, but you still won't know what you're looking at because you have no context. That's why a colleague of mine says that science studies matter, and the Bhagavad Gita studies what matters. And the two are important, and they have to go together. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur saw fit to write many books. Actually, he wrote over 100 books. This is a tradition coming from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that the great teachers would take the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For instance, Bhaktivinoda Thakur identified 10 most important teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called the Dash Mul. Mul means the root, and the 10 root teachings, and he laid them all out. And he wrote 100 books on these various concepts and tenets. And then he had a disciple, actually one of his sons, named Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who had a great intellect. Even as a child, he had memorized the 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita by the time he was 7. But not just memorized that he could sit down and recite them. Actually, Krishna Saka's sister can do that. I tested her. She came to Govardhan Hill and said, she knows the whole Gita, so I just picked out any verse from anywhere and she knew it. And I just heard from a Malini's, one of Malini's niece also. She's just a kid. She also memorized 700 verses from the Bhagavad Gita. So let's pick up the pace. I was saying, more like this, I was saying, pick up the pace. So, where was I before I interrupted myself? I get too intrigued with my own machinations. What? Yeah, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was brilliant, and he wrote a book that was appreciated in academic circles. Surya Siddhanta, required a book on astronomy, and also he was a great astrologer. But he became a devout follower of not only his father, but also Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in his adolescence, he took vows to very strictly follow the process. I mean, he always strictly followed the process, but he became demonstratively a great follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And after his father passed, and his own guru, he had a guru named Gorakishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Babaji means somebody who just retires from worldly life and goes into solitude and is 24 hours engaged in practices of devotional service. As a Babaji, he mostly chanted the mantra. And sometimes great teachers do that. So after both of his main teachers in life had passed, then he thought about the legacy he had received. And with much consternation, he also took up the role of a teacher, at which he was very effective. He started an organization that spread all over India. It's called the Gaudiya Mutt. And he attracted thousands and thousands of young scholars who recognized Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's not only his genius, but also his heart and practice of devotional service, and the conception of organizing the teachings in such a way that many people could take advantage of it. Really, he got that from his father. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had this idea of each one teach one. Every village could become every home could become a school for learning spiritual practice. His point was, what's the use of paying property tax and taking time to maintain your house? Anybody here have a house? It takes a little bit to maintain. Only 3 people. See me afterwards. I know a few agents I can help you out. So, yeah, I mean, my back fence just fell down and that's constant. There's always something to paint and fix, and then we just paid our property tax. That's probably more than my parents paid for their whole house in Lafayette in the early 60s or 50s, whenever they bought it. 50s probably, yeah. So there's a lot of things to maintain in the world. Why bother? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, well, if you have it, and you're gonna have it, because you have to live in the world, you have to live someplace, make it a space where you can teach the tenets of spiritual practice so other people can be benefited. And we can say there's many good causes in the world. For instance, people have to eat, so we should grow food. That's a good idea too. But the greatest cause, he said, was teaching people how to come to their original consciousness, called Krishna consciousness, and become self-directing in life, free themselves from the drudgery of just working hard for taking care of the senses, maintaining the status quo, and then, and I know this is a family show, but I have to bring it up, and then dying. I mean, there is death, right? No? Yes. Yeah, we don't like to talk about it. It's something off in the non-distinct future. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur taught a system that Amway took up later. They said, what a good system. You can sell stuff from your home. Tupperware followed it. If they still have that, I don't know. Mary Kay. I have to name a few more. So they all took up this idea after Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur's was the original multi-level marketing and the system so that, you know, your home could become significant. You're going to eat anyway, right? So invite people over, and what should you eat? Eat food offered to Krishna. And eat sensibly too. Don't eat things where you caused any harm to other living entities unnecessarily. I mean, you have to kill to eat, that's a fact, but be as nonviolent as possible. But more importantly, cook your food and do it in a spiritual way. It means do it as a sacrifice, or sacrifice is a heavy word nowadays. I think do it in a way with devotion, offer it to God, and then it becomes a spiritual act, eating. Invite people over, and then when you're in the house, then do what your mind doesn't want to do. What the mind wants to do when it's not trained is it wants to watch TV, right? And people become intoxicated and they just sit there. They go, they don't. It doesn't train the mind to do anything except for to follow some other energy that's pulling it in a way that somebody else has decided for you. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the 6th chapter that the mind can be the best friend or it can become a worst enemy. So everybody knows here, if you let yourself go physically, then you suffer later on. It takes a little work to keep yourself healthy, but it's worth it. Similarly, taking care of the mind, and what to speak of maintaining a spiritual connection with God. It takes a little work. Don't let the trail go cold and be taken in by random ideas from people who haven't really thought things through that well. When we look at the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they're very well thought through. You can study them yourselves. In fact, it's recommended by the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is all about the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and tells us about his biography. That is the biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he says, if you're inclined to study anything, study these teachings and see for yourself how not only practical they are, but profound at the same time. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur had this vision that the practice of bhakti could spread all over the world. And he was thinking back then beyond just some region in India, that it could go all over India. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta certainly made that happen. The practice of devotional service, as taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, spread all over India. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was pushing, well, how about let's cross the ocean? Now this had been an admonition for centuries that, a person who's in India shouldn't cross the ocean, a spiritual person. The implication was that non-practitioners elsewhere would contaminate you when you'd get there. But these great teachers said, hold it, we have something akin to medicine. And when you have that and there's an epidemic somewhere and you don't distribute it, there's a lawsuit in that if you hold it back. That's unconscionable to not give out that which can help others. So with this in mind, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, the disciple of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, thought, let's try for London. Because at that time, of course, London and India had this long-time relationship that I won't go into right now, but they were very much connected. There's a lot to say about that, but not right now. And then there were other parts of Asia. They ventured out. He sent some of his students to Burma, of all places. I'd have to research why he picked Burma at that time. It's probably available. And then he was urging his students to go to different countries around the world and spread Krishna consciousness. Now, the envoy that went to London was not that successful. In fact, the students that went there came back seemingly more influenced by the people that they had gone to meet than influencing them. And I don't know what happened in Burma. As I say, I'd have to look into it a little more. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, before he left the world, he had encouraged his students, but especially one of his students who had asked for service. Now, that's our founder Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Prabhupada is his name. So he had asked his teacher, what can I do to help? And what service can I do? And at the time he had a family to maintain, and he had a business that he was taking care of, and that's business means busyness. So does family. And nonetheless, he said, please tell me something I can do to help your mission. And his guru, his teacher, said, if you would kindly take this to the Western countries, especially English-speaking countries, because English was the medium through which all the big events were happening in the world at the time. It was the main stage. And around that time that he got that instruction, America really had emerged as the center stage for the world. With after the Second World War and the industrialization of the world and so forth, America really came into its own in a big way. And a lot of big thinkers were here, and this was the place to be. So he had, at that time, an inkling to develop his business, which he was in a chemical business, and he had medicinal chemicals. So by one course of nature or another, there was a reversal, and he was not able to make that business successful. In fact, it failed. It was a huge business, and it was really growing, and it looked like really optimistic. So he thought that he would make a lot of money and then use that to come to the West and spread Krishna consciousness. But as it happened, the business didn't succeed. In fact, it failed. And he tried a few places in India to get something started, and that didn't work either. So then he went for the whole thing. And he decided to come to America despite the fact that he didn't have any resources, except for a couple, which is worth mentioning now. One is that he already imbibed the process, the teaching. So he already had it within him. So he knew what to tell people. He knew the Bhagavad Gita, he knew the Srimad Bhagavatam, he knew the Chaitanya Charitamrita. These are the three main books of the teachings of Bhakti Yoga. And he knew those inside and out. He had learned it well from his teacher. And he also knew all the devotional arts, like cooking is one of the main ones. It's good news, right? Yeah, we're not going to starve you. And he knew that from all his deep studies, that the system of chanting the sacred names of God, especially in the mantra that had been passed down, was the primary means in the current age in which one could attain perfection in spiritual practice. And that's something that was very portable, so he had that. And then before he went out on this great excursion by himself with literally no resources, it would be a lot harder to do nowadays because people are more meticulous about who they let in and who to cross borders, right? If you've ever noticed. He also wrote the translation. I have it right here, actually. This is combined. There's 3 books in one here. This is the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's in 3 parts. For some reason, when they published this version, they put it all in one. I think the last time we printed this, we broke it into 2, didn't we? It's still all in one version? You sure? We broke something into 2. Anyway, this is a big book. But he had it in 3 volumes when he printed it. And he had multiple copies printed, and he got passage on a cargo ship. It wasn't a one of those luxury liners. There was no real space for passengers, no real facility, but he had a connection with the person who owned a cargo ship company in India. And her name was Sumati Murarji. And so he had gone to her, and she knew him to be a great teacher of bhakti. So he asked for a ticket to come to the West. Not just ticket, but just, there were no tickets. Just like, can you give me a space on your boat? I'll just get off New York. It was like hitchhiking. You don't know about this, right? When we were kids, we used to hitchhike. You can't do that anymore, unfortunately. But anyway, he hitchhiked on a boat. And at first, she was elderly, and he was also elderly. He was 69 years old at the time, and she said, I can't, in all good consciousness, give you passage, because I think you're too old, you're not in good health, you might die. And I'm the one who facilitated that, so I can't do it, sorry. So with great determination, our founder Acharya that I'm speaking about in his heroic journey, he camped outside her office. And he wouldn't go away. And he kept insisting that this is my chance. Now the place he left from finally, because obviously she acquiesced and gave him the opportunity to get on the boat, is right there in Calcutta. We just visited that place. We think of it as a especially potent spiritual place to visit because of the intentionality that he expressed when he went there. Think of it. The things that you've done in your life, when you play it too safe, later on you think like, I could have gone for that, but I just held back. And there's a way in which we can hold back throughout our whole lives, just thinking, I'll take the safe route. I won't risk anything. And no risk, no gain, right? So he risks in a really big way because he didn't have any helpers. He had a very amorphous idea of a sponsor in America. It wasn't a sure thing at all. And he had no money. But he did have his books, and he had this confidence that I've been asked to do this, and therefore when you're asked by highly elevated spiritual person to do a service, the empowerment to do the service is included in the instruction. It's nice to know. And so the place that he got on this boat, which is called the Jaladuta, which in Bengali means the water messenger, is on the Ganges River. The Ganges comes inward to the city, and then it goes back out to sea. So where he got on the boat, there's a dock there, and you can still see it. We just visited there. And we remember this heroic act of him getting on the boat, because we can all do that in our own way. There are opportunities we have in our life to give ourselves to selfless service to God, rather than trying to hold on to everything. When we try to hold on to everything and play it safe, maintain the status quo, there's a sort of cognitive dissonance that we undergo, which means that we know full well we're going to lose it anyway. At least we should. Otherwise, we're deluding ourselves. But at the same time, I want to keep it. And on the other side, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, if you put your life in my hands and you just dedicate yourself to my service, then I'll take care of you in all ways. Now, that's a big promise. And if someone walks in here tonight, we get some big shot, he'll come through this entrance here, and he'll come in. He'll use this table here. We'll give him a special chair. And he'll sit down and open a briefcase, and he'll say, anybody who wants, I'll take care of all your affairs. You just line up, and we'll take care of it. Will you get in line? Yeah? Maybe. You might be also thinking, like, who is this guy? Followed by, how's he going to take care of all my affairs? There must be some catch. What do you want? You want me to be an indentured servant, either this life or next, right? Or there's some string attached to this, right? But if you read the first 17 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, and you start to get an idea for who's speaking the Bhagavad Gita, and then you realize, oh, this is not a worldly person, but this is the Supreme. He controls all energies, God. And then you come to a statement, he says, tell me what I'm going to do for you, little fella. You just surrender to me, I'll take care of all your affairs. You might have this moment when you think, well, what if you really can? And you might then think, well, why don't I just put everything in his hands? Why don't I just do service for service? Why do I remain attached to all my things that are just going to be taken away anyway? So that moment of clarity that we may have in our life, or we may even have a time in our life when we make a prayer and we say, oh, please let me do this, even though I don't feel like I can. I don't have the strength yet, but please let me do that. And that takes some strength and sincerity to make such a prayer, doesn't it? It's a little scary, isn't it? But there's a famous verse that was spoken by one of the other incarnations of Krishna named Ramchandra. And he said that if one time, Sakradeva Prapanoyas, you say, I give myself to you, I surrender to you. He said, from that day forward, it becomes my vow that I'll always take care of you. Perpetually from that day forward. That's a big promise. So we hear a lot of big promises, and then we think, well, what if it's true? What if it's true? What if it's true? And then when we see somebody take that leap, who really doesn't have any other protection in life, when you're elderly, it's kind of a big deal, because you start to feel that, any step, like kids, they can fall down a flight of stairs and get up, ha, ha, ha. But if you take one misstep when you're old, you can be bedridden for the rest of your life. It's a very precarious situation to be in, to be elderly. So he was elderly. Plus he had nobody to pick him up. Have you ever flown anywhere recently or driven anywhere where you didn't make a clear plan what was going to happen when you got there? Like you didn't have anybody to pick us. Nowadays, well, who's picking us up? When are they going to? What kind of car is it going to be? Does it have safety belts? So he didn't have that. So when we go to that place in Kolkata and we see where he got on the boat, we might think, like, what boat can we get on like that? What act at our level, at my level, could I do to express that same feeling of leaping off and taking advantage of the promise that Krishna has given in the Bhagavad Gita, that if you just take shelter of me, I'll protect you in all circumstances. And you'll be under my protection completely. So there are ways that we would express that in our own lives. So as it turns out, it's the great hero's journey, the classic hero's journey. The person who has nothing, leaves the hometown, goes off into the unknowns of the world. The world then pushes him in different directions, and after some time comes back as a hero. And that's exactly what happened. That's how this organization started. One person with this sense that, well, Krishna said it in the Bhagavad Gita, I'm going to test it, and I'm going to step on this boat, and I'm going to go where no one's gone before, with no other protector except Krishna. And he was very successful. There is much written about it. There's several books written about the details of what happened when he arrived in Boston Harbor and then New York City. He had a host family he stayed with for a couple weeks. And those books tell about the day-to-day practices that he took up and the way that he was able then to catch the attention of some of the youth in New York City, and then it conflagrated. That is, the enthusiasm that he spread to a few people went all over the world. And it is what it is today. So that's why we're all here, and that's really the history of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, how it started. And it's as viable now as it was 500 years ago, or 5,000 years ago, or 50,000, or at the beginning of the universe, which is when the teaching is passed down. It gets renewed from time to time because the ideas that are in the teachings and the practices themselves veer off to one direction or another, and it takes great teachers to then illuminate the path or re-illuminate the path so many people can follow it. We're at a good time in history because it's very recent that we have such great teachers who have shown the clear path of practicing Krishna consciousness. So, in a very practical way, one of the teachings, as I've already mentioned, is that one can practice chanting the names of Krishna, and by that practice, one can purify one's mind, one's intelligence, one's senses, and feel happiness just by doing that. And this is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I thought of a verse on the way here today from the first canto, 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Here, would you look it up for me? Is it 1:5, the second to the last verse, or third to the last verse? Iti mutyabhidanena. And this teaching comes from a very famous sage. His name is Narada. And Narada had a famous disciple whose name was Srila Vyasadeva. So Srila Vyasadeva was this very empowered person who was a literary incarnation of God. And he had written many, many scriptures and directions of how to follow Krishna consciousness. So his teacher came one day to visit him and said, "What's wrong? You don't look so happy." Have you ever had anybody notice that you don't look happy? Yeah? They look at you and say, "What's wrong?" So that's Narada came and said, All right, what's up? Something's wrong. Tell me what's going on. And Srila Vyasadeva, I've done so much service, I've written so many books, but I don't feel satisfied. I don't think I really got the essence of it all. So Narada said, that's true. You actually, you missed the point. So he gave him clear instructions to what to do to make up for that. And one of them was an emphasis on the importance of chanting the name of God. Within the name of God, he's about to say in this verse that I'll read to you, is all of God's power. He's there directly manifest in the name. So someone might say, well, show me God. It's like, okay, what will you accept as evidence of God or a way to connect? The eyes are overrated. But in the system of bhakti, the ears are the main thing. You hear God before you see him. So this verse mentions the word murti. It's the second word. So murti means form, and it also means difficulty. And the second line he says mantra. So mantra, murtim, the form or the level of difficulty. Either way the word works. A mantra, man means mind and tra means to deliver. So how to deliver the mind. No, go ahead, go back up. No cheating now. So the next word, amurtikam, when you put an A in front of a word in Sanskrit, it often reverses the meaning. So where the word means murtim or difficult, amurti means not difficult. So what he's saying in this verse is that for seeing the form of God, and it's sort of a play on words because murti is used in both senses of the meaning, to see the form or the murti of God, the mantra makes what's murtim or difficult amurti, or not difficult. So what before, it's like, well, how am I ever going to see God? He's saying, okay, here's a way that's not difficult, where you can actually see him. And then he says, this is a system of, or a practice in which you can actually come directly in contact with a person. Now I'm going to have to ask if we could have a little more oxygen. May I request more oxygen? This is more of a classroom than it is a ski lodge. So if we could open the doors and get cross ventilation, if you're cold, we'll supply you with blankets. But we do need to have oxygen to the brain to understand this verse. So yajite yagya purusham means that this is a practice that you can perform, and by it, samyak darshana means you'll have the full and direct experience of the personality of God. So God has different features. The highest feature is his personality. That's where all the other features come from. Just like there's the sun. Well, anyway, there's the personality, and from the personality emanates all the other qualities. So what he's basically saying here is if you repeat the names of God, then you'll be able to experience God for yourself directly. You don't have to go anywhere else and get a certificate. You'll directly see and understand him yourself. Does that sound reasonable? So read the translation. Here's what Narada says. Thus he is the actual seer who worships in the form of transcendental sound representation, the Supreme Personality of God of Vishnu, who has no material form. Okay? Any questions before we try it out? Yes, Prabhu? We'll provide microphones for anybody who wants to make a comment or ask a question. We had to go manufacture the microphones. We buy the components in Taiwan, have them shipped over. Okay, go ahead.
Hope you don't mind. It's a slightly technical question.
Oh, no. Okay, go ahead.
I was just noticing that as you were describing how Vyasadeva was he was unaware of what was causing him his distress. Well, he was in the state where he needed to be informed by Narada Muni of what was actually the missing piece of the puzzle there, which was to bring the center focus back to Krishna and his pastimes and the process of bhakti. And it made me think about how Arjuna was overcome by Mahamaya, according to Srila Prabhupada, so that the Bhagavad Gita could be spoken and the events of the Kurukshetra could take place, that it was actually Mahamaya, not Yogamaya. And so my question is Vyasadeva overcome by Mahamaya as well?
No, it's part of the Leela. Just like in Vrindavan, Balaram can't figure out why everyone's acting so strangely during the year after Aghasura was killed. That's a long story. But Krishna gradually revealed it to him, showing that even Balaram needs to be empowered by Krishna to understand everything directly. So, yes, Kanka? We'll get you a mic. 7 seconds or less, or your money back from this class. There, you got 2.
I just wanted to mention that actually I was there in LA when Srila Prabhupada said, he was telling us the story how he came, and that he said, he was talking about how his business failed, and he said, it was really Krishna's mercy that my business failed. He goes, because then I could fulfill the orders of my spiritual master.
Jai. So oftentimes we take things, especially reversals in our life, to be a detriment. But it's for those especially who have taken to the path of bhakti and who have even once sincerely said, please help, we may be experiencing an intervention from Krishna's hand saying, go this way, not that way. And we may not realize it until later because it's hard to connect the dots forward, but backwards it's easier to see that these things happened by divine arrangement. But that's what we're looking for, is divine arrangement and direction from Krishna. So according to the verse today, we can get that very directly by repeating the mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra. So would you all like to try an experiment? Okay, that was about 25%. So, okay, that was 89%. The rest of you cover. All right. all right. So, yes, everyone, please move forward. We bought this building 10 years ago. Was it 10? Yeah. 10 years ago this Thursday, with the idea that we would keep it for 7 years. So that's why we're asking you to move up. We're late by 3 years of getting a bigger place. But it's also nice to utilize every square inch of what you already have, isn't it? And it's fun to be together like this, right? Yeah. In Jaipur, in India, at the Radha Govinda temple, pardon me? If somebody wants to donate a building? What did Ramananda say? Somebody has a question. Oh, there's a question online? Oh, Kennedy. Yeah, go ahead, Kennedy.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
You had said something about Krishna consciousness being also a form of self-direction, and there was something about that just blew my mind a little bit, because when you're coming in a boat down the river into, say, the ocean of Krishna consciousness, you have to choose to row that boat. It can get set up for you, but like in Srila Prabhupada's story, he had to choose to get on the boat. He chose to sit in front of the office. He chose to take every step to get himself there. And in that sense, it's how our story can be aligned for us perfectly by the grace of Krishna. But unless we choose to partake in it, we won't be able to see what our purpose was, because we truly can't understand anything without that hindsight.
Yeah, this is a helpful point. Thank you, Kennedy. In fact, we can do it the easy way or the hard way. Which way do you like it? The easy way? Okay. I'll just tell a little story. No? Okay. The what? Voluntarily. So Giri Raj Maharaj tells a story. And Giri Raj Maharaj spent many years in Bombay, now known as Mumbai. And he helped establish the center there in Juhu. And there, at that time, was a young person who was helping to translate the books Prabhupada had written that, up to that point into Marathi. And so he would come to consult with Prabhupada about the translations. And the young man's father would come along also to take advantage of being able to see Prabhupada. And the young man's father had a habit of smoking. So he felt a little guilty about that and mentioned it a few times when he had come. And when Prabhupada asked him about it, because Prabhupada knew that he was trying to quit. So he asked him, how's it going? Were you able to quit smoking? And the man sheepishly said, I require special mercy for this. And then Prabhupada said, yes, you can get special mercy. That means that Krishna will make you so miserable that you'll be forced to give it up. So he said, would you like special mercy? And the man said, no. I'll do it myself. And so this point Kennedy brought up about, you have to row the boat yourself. This is the most satisfying of all endeavors we have in our life. When we're able to read the Bhagavad Gita, which I recommend that everyone do every day. I know it sounds extreme, but I don't see how one could find oneself through the mire of complicated situations that are present in the world today in everyone's life without being guided by the words of the Bhagavad Gita. Frankly, it's not really possible to not fall into ill repute and become lost without having good guidance. And the best of guidance comes from the Bhagavad Gita. And so if we have that and we hear Krishna's voice, and then there's a heroic act in our life, even if it's a tiny one, and we say, I'm going to follow it. Today I'm going to do it. Or even in this minute, I'm going to follow it. That's when we come into resonance. I've spoke about cognitive dissonance, and there's a way that we feel that I'm not doing enough or I'm not doing the right thing. I don't feel right about my life. That can be overcome. We can hear Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita, and then we can say, no, I'm going to do it today. And in that moment when we actually do it, we feel beyond elated. We feel blissful, naturally blissful, because that's our constitutional position just as much as the hand cooperates with the rest of the body. If the hand doesn't cooperate with the body, it's a useless hand. We'll say it's a diseased hand. What's wrong with your hand? It won't come. Come here, hand. And the hand's like, no, I don't think so. So when Krishna speaks to us through the Bhagavad Gita and we say, not right now, go back to TikTok, then there's this sense like I'm lost in the ocean of the material world. But if I come when he calls, then I'm healthy. And in our health, in our perfect alignment, we feel naturally happy and satisfied. And we're very productive by doing that. So now we're going to try chanting Hare Krishna, accompanied by a bass guitar. We've flown in all the way from Tennessee, a famous bass guitarist to accompany us today. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Ashrata Deva Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurava. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote many poems expressing the deep feelings that the devotee develops for Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Suridam Sarva Bhutanam, I'm your best friend. I care about you more than anybody ever could care. I'm always with you. I oversee everything and I'm fulfilling all your desires and have been since the time immemorial. But I am a forgetful soul. Somehow or other I've turned my face away from Krishna and I see only my self-interest in life, and because I don't know myself anymore, when you lose the sun, you also lose sight of yourself. And when we lose sight of Krishna, who's the soul of our soul, we lose our own soul to the world. And we say, I have no soul, there is no soul, there is no God. But when we're in trouble, we call out again and say, if you get me out of this one, I'll believe in you forever. And then we forget again. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapila Dev tells his mother, who's his student, that when the soul goes into the womb of a mother in human form, after some months, the body develops, the brain develops enough so the living entity can be aware of where he is. And those who are fortunate then begin to pray within the womb. Oh, how I've done this again. I've forgotten you, gone on with my own business and agenda in my last life, and now here I am again to try to finish up my business in this life. And he also remembers in that state that it's so difficult. As soon as one gets pushed out of the birth channel and comes into the world, the senses externalize. It's very disorienting. If you think jet lag is bad, that's why babies sleep all day. They just transferred from one body to the next. They come out in some foreign place, some time, some planet. Who are these people looking at me? And they say, "Coochie coochie coo." And I start to think, oh yes, now I remember I'm the center of attention. And I have so many things to do because I'm the center of everything. And again, I waste another lifetime. And in this way, if I took all the bodies I left behind and I piled them up, they would block out the sun. I've forgotten again and again. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, through his pen, expresses the voice of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying, wake up. Now wake up. Now you have the opportunity. You've come into the world. You've come in contact again with Krishna. So this time, take advantage. And I used to sing this song and still do sometimes in a tune that sounds a little joyful and upbeat. One of my friends who's a consummate musician and grabbed me by the arm one day and said, Vice, you're singing it all wrong. This is a sad song. It's a song of woe for the soul and very somber voice of the Lord waking us up. And the words to that song can be sung to this tune, which makes it go deeper into the heart. You can put it on the board if you wish. It says, Jeev Jago, which means wake up, wake up. You're sleeping. And how long will you stay in the lap of the witch called Maya? It's like you ran away from home and you ended up with bad foster parents who abuse you. But then you accept it. Oh yeah, this is just the way my life is. No, that's not your life. You have a home. You have a guardian. Come back. You've forgotten. So let's try one line of this song in this tune and from a prayerful heart. Call out to Krishna because that's what bhakti means. Nothing more. It just means I'm calling out, please, let me now take full advantage of your association and surrender to you. Jeev Jago. I'll sing then you sing. Jeev Jago. Gaura Chandra Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago, Gaura Chandra Bole. Kota Nidra Jao Maya Pishachira Kole Sing, how long will you stay like this? Lord Chaitanya is calling, wake up. Kota Nidra Jao Maya Tisha Chira Kole Vaji Bobole Aeshe Samsara Now, since we're feeling all melancholy, we'll sing one more song to lift the spirits. Another song Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote also in the name or in the voice of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaya Gora Madhusvare. And here he says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is singing in a very sweet voice, the Mahamantra. He went everywhere from every town and village in order for people to hear the mantra. And when one person would hear it, they'd pass it to others. Then it would spread to the whole village, and then it would spread across the countryside, and people in the whole country would sing it. So the Krishna consciousness movement is meant for making this song popular all over the world. In the early years of the Krishna consciousness movement, when it looked like to many people this is just a few people. In fact, when they signed the papers of incorporation, there were only 5 or 6 people that were part of the organization, and they thought, why bother? But just after that, a few devotees, in another heroic journey, catching their own Jaladuta, flew on the super economy airline with no seats to get to London, somehow got into the country by pretending they had money. They brought some money and then they sent it back to the others so they could come in too. Before the digital age, folks. And then George Harrison made a song and an album, and it became the top of the pops. That means it was the most popular song of the time, and it went all over the world. People were singing and inviting the devotees to sing. So this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, is to spread this Hare Krishna mantra. It goes like this. Gai Gauram Madhushvare Nam Ga Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Everybody. Hare Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gai Gaura Madhushvare Grihe Tako Mane Tako Sarahari Bole Dako Suke Suke Bhulo Nako Varne Hare Nam Koro Re. Here's your tip for the day, given to you by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says, Grihe Tako Bani Tako. Doesn't matter where you live. You could live in Cupertino. You can live in Mountain House. Is that a place? You could live in Barstow. Doesn't matter where you are. You can be in a house. You can live in a van. Shower at the 24-hour fitness. Doesn't matter. Just go on chanting Hare Krishna. Sarahari Boli Dako. Keep the vibration going. And then he says, Suke Duke Bulo Nako. Vadane Harinam Korore. Whether you're in happy circumstances or sad ones, and they all come to us naturally. Just keep the vibration of the holy name in your mouth. This is how simple Krishna consciousness is. Nam Gai Gaura Madhushvare Nam Gai Gaura Madhushvare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Everybody. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, are you ready? I'm going to call it. Hare Krishna Dance Party. Right now, right here, we got this place just for you to dance on this floor. Notice, we looked everywhere. You can't dance on marble, cement. That's horrible. This is wood. Wood floor. Trees get benefit for giving a place for devotees to dance. So we're going to stand up. We're going to roll up all the carpets, put the seats back there. We're going to have an Artik ceremony, otherwise known as a Hare Krishna dance party. Hare Bol.
Excuse me, how you want?
Sorry. Mataji.
Excuse me.
When is the college starting again?
Excuse me, Mata. Excuse me, how you want? Oh. No, 3:30. Now it's straight.
Hours straight still. Oh, that's great. It's still a little high. It really needs to be a little flat. Somewhere there. Someone has it.
It's on, Maharaj.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshataya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna dance party, hello. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Premanande. Now we're going to sing a raga, which is meant for the monsoon season. And even though it's springtime here, we don't know if it's monsoon or spring anyway. But this is a tune that the devotees in Vrindavan relish to remember the dark clouds, and each dark cloud is Sham. It reminds the devotees like Madhavendra Puri of Krishna. Whenever he sees the Sham cloud, he faints out of ecstasy of love of God. So let us take the holy names into our heart with this beautiful Meghrag tune. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, everyone. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Jai Gopala Jai Jai, Radhamana Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Govinda Jai Jai Gopala Jai Jai, Radhamana Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Gopala Jai Jai, Radhamana Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Radhamana Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Jayum. You can remain standing, or you can bow if you want. Either way is fine. When it's crowded, it's easier standing. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Rirajakachaja Stotra Siddhishishima Abhay Charanara Vinda Bhaktivedanta Sai Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Rirajakachaja Stotra Siddhishima Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Kodi Vaishnavi Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Zagaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Sri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Samveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. And now we'll all sit for special prayers to Lord Nishingadev here in the Silicon Valley. This deity is very special. This deity of Lakshmi Nishingadev was worshipped for some years in Tijuana, Mexico. But then it was very hard to maintain the seva. So Nishingadev decided to come here to Silicon Valley. And he arrived here in 2001. Would anybody like to guess the date that he got here? It was on 9/11. Just around the time people were starting to panic, Lord Nishingadev drove up in a convertible Mustang, souped up car, and came in and sat down on the altar here at ISV to be worshipped. And the prayers that we sing here for Lord Nishingadev were given to us by our founder Acharya. Actually, they were written by Jayadev Goswami. They're a prelude to the Gita Govinda, very esoteric writing about the pastimes of Krishna and Radharani and Vrindavan. But he wanted to impress upon us all that Krishna is not an ordinary person. These are not ordinary love affairs for us to meddle in. So he named the various avatars of the Lord who, like Varaha, lifted the earth. like Matsya, who became millions of yojanas long, like Vamandev, who kicked a hole in the top of the universe and let the Ganga through, and Nrsingadev, who came to save his devotee Prahlad Maharaj after he was persecuted by his demoniac father Hiranyakashipu. And so we all need protection in this world. And in the Sri Brahma Samhita it is said, Yat pada pallava yugam viniraya kumbha dvanve pranama samaye saganadi raja vignan vihantum alamasya jagatrayasya govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. That Lord Nrsingadev is the deity of Ganapati. Who here knows Ganapati? Yes, so Ganapati removes obstacles, right? Vigna. And how does he do it? Is mentioned in the Shastra. He keeps on his pair of tumuli, protruding from his elephant head, the lotus feet of Lord Nrsingadev. And by worshipping Lord Nrsingadev, then he has the power to remove obstacles on one's path. So here we worship Lord Nrsingadev, and you'll notice that there's an addition to the altar here. There's a beautiful crown that's there that was donated by a very senior devotee of Srila Prabhupada named Guru Kripa Prabhu, who had that made specially in South India out of silver. And we just brought it back from Kartik. So that's a new addition to the altar. Also, as we're praying to Lord Nrsingadev, you may notice that the room is full. We're noticing all the rooms are full. We have to turn kids away because our school, we have 400 children here, and we're expanding our education. So right now, we're in the hunt all over the Bay Area to look for larger spaces for the various programs that are bursting at the seams here at ISV. And if somebody would like to donate $10 million, please see me afterwards. I'm quite serious. We would like to have that, please. So we're preoccupied here with doing the seva and also going out door to door. And we put the preponderance of our energy on giving Krishna consciousness to as many people as possible. So in the course of doing that, we need protection. And that's why Srila Prabhupada introduced these prayers. So we all need protection in this world. It's danger at every step. Everything's hanging by a thread, always, but especially right now. So let us put our heart and soul into singing these beautiful prayers to Lord Narahari Dev, who removes all obstacles, who also protects all of his devotees. And a special prayer for Her Grace Kunja Sevaka, who's a mighty fighter and preacher in Krishna consciousness, and may Lord Nrsingadev protect her in this time when she's going through some heavy physical challenges. Om Tat Sat, Hare Krishna. Bolo.
Namaste Narashingaya. Namaste Narashingaya. Prahlada Daine. Prahlada Daine. Hiranyakashipu Vaksha. Hiranyakashipu Vaksha. Shilajankana Kalaye. Shilajankana Kalaye. Kitana परतोन श्रृंगार गीतोन श्रृंगार परतोन Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Can I have the mic on, please? Great, great. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. We welcome you all here on sunny Sunday evening at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. We thank you all for taking your valuable time
and voting with your feet to come here and giving us your association. So let's give a big round of applause to all the devotees who have joined us. We'd also like to give a special thanks to all the devotees who have joined us online. Today's Krishna Katha and discourse was brought to us by His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu. So let's express our gratitude and thank him for the beautiful class. And we would also like to thank him for the ecstatic arti that we had and the kirtan. So let's give him a big round of applause. If you like to create the same atmosphere at your home, we have a special program, Kirtan Melos. You can reach out to us. We'll host a kirtan program at your home. So, look forward to it. Hare Krishna. Anyone coming here for the first time? Thank you all. We have many devotees coming here for the first time. If you have any questions or if you like us to be of any assistance, please reach out to us. We would help you any way we can. So let's chant one Mahamantra for all the newcomers. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As we know, we are the kitchen religion here, and the program is not over until we have the Sunday feast, right? So to make that possible, we have several sponsors for today. We have 6 sponsors in total. So I will call them one by one. So please make yourself comfortable and come here, and we have a small gift for you. Hare Krishna. So the first sponsor is Murli Prabhu, who is sponsoring today. He was here. Okay, please come. Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for sponsoring. And if you have few words to say.
Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Now we have all birthdays. So Ashish Prabhu and Neha Mataji are sponsoring on the occasion of their daughter's Gaurangi's birthday. Very good. So Neha Mataji is here. Hare Krishna. Gaurangi here. Okay, thank you for sponsoring, and here is Prashad, and if you have a few words.
Just bless Gaurangi. It's her 13th birthday, and give me lots of blessings to handle a teenager.
Megha Ladha Mataji is sponsoring on the occasion of her brother's birthday, and his name is Shri. Is he here? Is he here? Please come. Thank you. Yeah, just stay here. Okay. Thank you, Mataji, for sponsoring. And here is the prasad for you. And if you have few words, you want to say a few words?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
And Bhavika Mataji is sponsoring on the occasion of His Grace Anand Kishore Prabhu's birthday. So Anand Kishore Prabhu and Bhavika Mataji, please come here. If you can. Thank you, Mataji, for sponsoring the feast, especially on your husband's birthday. And here is the gift for you. Do you have a few words to say?
I love this community. Hare Krishna to everyone.
And Anand Kishore Prabhu, we would like a speech from you.
Hare Krishna. I'm so grateful to have this association. I just, please pray that we don't take this association for granted, and do some tangible service to Vaisesika Prabhu and Rakula Mataji. in their service to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much.
Mayank Prabhu and Namita Mataji are sponsoring on the occasion of their daughters Pranvi and Prisha's birthday. Pranvi and Prisha, please come. Where is your sister? Outside? Okay. She doesn't want to be with you? Okay. I see. So here is a prasad for you in a small gift. And would you like to say a few words? Can I interview? Can I ask you a few questions?
All I want to say is Hare Krishna.
Wait, I have two questions for you. So what do you like the most here at temple? Why do you come here every week?
I'm here for the Aarti and Darshan because the Darshan are always very beautiful.
Excellent. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, and we wish you all the best. Your name is Pranvi? Prisha? Okay, Prisha. Thank you. Hare Krishna. And the next sponsor is His Grace Balram Vilas Prabhu is sponsoring on the occasion of his mother's birthday, and he has sent a message that he will not be here. So let's thank him for in his absence. And let's chant one Mahamantra for all the sponsors. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we have a very important event that is coming up this week, and Hanspriya Mataji will give us more details on that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this Thursday we have is Rama Navami. How many of you are looking forward to Rama Navami? I personally look forward to is hearing the glories of Lord Ram. And I'm sure you all have your own favorite pastime, but one of my favorite pastime is building the Setu bridge. Because when I come and associate with all of you, it reminds me that building the bridge, how every devotee came together and had a wonderful association. And anyone and everyone can contribute. You can, even if you're a squirrel can even lift a rock and put it in along with other rocks to build the bridge. And this service, devotional service, what Srila Prabhupada has given us, it allows us to lift that small rock to make the bridge. So I just feel like that being with all of you, it really makes me feel that we are contributing in this service, no matter how, and everyone has a desire to make a difference. So we all come together and we will build our bridge so we can connect with the Krishna. And we are blessed that we have Vaisesika Prabhu. He's not always here on all the Ram Navami. So this is a special blessing of Lord Ram that we have Vaisesika Prabhu, and we want to hear a lot more pastimes of Lord Ram. And what to speak of Dasya Bhakti of Hanuman, right? So we want to be on that day here in the just remembering Lord Ram with the presence of Vaisesika Prabhu. So please meditate. And I know that India has now this whole movement going on about being a Sanatani, right? So let's practice by being here. We'll be here. Let's hear and chant Lord Ram and associate with devotees and hear Lord Ram's Katha. So program will be here in the evening starting at 5:30 p.m. I know it's a weekday, so please everyone make your Dr. Ram's appointment to be here. And we'll start at 5:30 p.m. and we'll go on till 7 o'clock. So Hare Krishna.
And Mataji, you want to say something about the anniversary? What is the special?
I'll give that pleasure to Vaisesika Prabhu.
We moved to this building. We purchased it and moved in 10 years ago this week. And we come from humble origins. In fact, the whole movement started just in a tiny little garage, little like room in Vrindavan. If you see Prabhupada's room, it's very tiny. stone room, and then he came and started in a small storefront, 26 Second Avenue in New York. And he always told us that grow organically, grow the community first, and also emphasize what's most important, which is reaching out and giving other people the chance to read Bhagavad Gita. So in this tiny little place here, we've excelled over the years by organizing book distribution and other aspects of outreach, and many other aspects of devotional service. If you notice, the deity worship here is very beautiful. The garland makers, they meditate all week long how to make beautiful garlands. I must say, from traveling all over the world and seeing various temples, they're the best I've ever seen anywhere. So this temple, although it's very tiny and humble, it's full of heart. We have actually thousands of members all over the Bay Area who participate one way or the other. And we moved from a small house on New Jersey Avenue in San Jose, and then we had a tiny storefront next to a haircutting place, pizza parlor, and a computer repair shop. Then we moved to the most odd place I've ever been in my life, which was in the middle of an industrial park. It's an unincorporated area, and we were there for 7 years. And then we couldn't hold anymore, and plus people weren't as attracted to the 104-degree weather. We had no air conditioning in that last place. And finally we moved here, and we've been here 10 years. And now we have the same urge to move to the next level. We're looking for a campus-like situation so we can expand our education. We're launching into education in a big way here, into a school system that will be highly competitive academically, but also in a spiritual, stress-free environment for kids starting from kindergarten all the way up to 12. We also have an ambition to start a proper university here. We have outreach of various kinds. So we can all come together here while we have the opportunity in Silicon Valley to make a statement to the world about the importance of keeping our spiritual lives first. And everyone's welcome to do service here, as Hansapriya said, and also contribute to this. We pray to Lord Ramachandra, who allowed us to move in here 10 years ago, that he may also allow us to expand in ways that will accommodate everyone all over Silicon Valley, because it's the need of the day, don't you think? Yes. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. We have Avantika to announce the cooks.
Hare Krishna. Today's prasadam was cooked by Siddha Katha Prabhu, Sindhu Kanya Mataji, Vamshi Prabhu, Smita Mataji, who's first time volunteering, Hema Mataji, Shankar Prabhu, Soni Mataji, Sumati Mataji, Krishna Lila Mataji, and for the kids below 7, we have Raymuna, Yuvan, and Ryan.
I have one more small announcement. Sneha Mataji from our congregation, we offered Narshinga prayers. She requested us to offer the Narshinga prayers for the protection of her friend Deepika Mataji, who was very serious and was hospitalized. And she recovered fully, and they are here. Rajat Prabhuji and Deepika ji are here with their family. So are they here? Okay. Thank you, Mataji, thank you for your prayers, and thank you. Would you like, and we'd like, yeah.
So as he said, I had a very bad accident over a month ago, and it's just because of Sneh and Mitul. I'm sorry, I'm still recovering from my brain injury. So because of these two devotees, I think they arranged this prayer, and I think all of you prayed for me. And I'm telling you, it's just because of those prayers. I'm here right now, standing on my feet with a working brain. So, thank you so much.
So that's it for the announcements, and we will go for...
Can you sing one more song, everybody?
Yes, Haribo.
It's a really happy song. It's my favorite song. This is a Bengali song, but it talks about the glories of prasad. Food is cooked without tasting it because it's all for the pleasure of Krishna. And this material body, says the song, is a very treacherous place. It's very difficult because the senses are so strong. Even great yogis can't control the senses. Vishwamrita, after 10,000 years, had left his practice. But if one can control the tongue, says Bhaktivinoda Thakur in this song, then one can control all the senses. So he is appreciating how Krishna has given us prasad to conquer the tongue. And now we call out to glorify Lord Krishna and call for the help of Shri Shri Gaurnitai. Sharirat Vijaja Jodendriya Ahikaha Jile Tele Vishaya Shakare Dharma Jejivayati Loba Moisu Durmati Take Jeta Patita Samsare Krishna Bodha Goyamo Kori Bare Jivata Shapasharana Dilopaha Shayanamrita Pao Radha Krishna Gunagao Rele Nako Shri Chaitanya Nita Rele Nako Shri Chaitanya Nita Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Tompa Punya Padam Rajan Vishwa Sevan Vaite Prasade Sarva Sutana Anirate Upidayate Prasana Chetato Yashu Pujvaya Vajite Kayopa Buddha Sanganda Bhaskankar Charchitaha Utishta Bojino Dasat Davamayam Jaimahi Bhagavad Shri Mahaprasad Ki Gaur Premanande Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. We welcome everyone to please come take prasadam. If you go out this door and take a sharp right, you'll be in the picnic area. And there we have tables set up where we would like to serve everyone. We have plenty for all. If you have friends, call them, fly in, whatever, to come here for prasadam. Thank you very much for coming. Hare Krishna.